I've been driving 18-wheelers for nearly 15 years, and I've seen some strange things on the road. But nothing prepared me for the barefoot woman I saw standing dead still in the middle of the Arizona highway at 3 in the morning, especially since I never saw her walk away. And somehow she still ended up inside my locked cab. It was a long haul from Santa Fe to Yuma Flat, stretches of desert, radio static, and caffeine-fueled monotony. The kind of drive where your mind starts to play tricks on you. If you done, keep it busy. I was about 10 hours into my shift, heading westbound on I-8, maybe 50 miles outside of Gila Bend. The highway was empty, just my headlights cutting through a fog of dust and dry heat. My GPS had gone glitchy about an hour earlier. Not that I needed it. I knew this stretch of road like the back of my hand. No traffic, no exits. Just the dull hum of tires and the occasional flicker of jackrabbits darting through my high beams. That's why I almost didn't believe my eyes when I saw her. She was standing right there in the middle of the damn road. A woman, maybe mid-20s, barefoot, wearing a white dress that looked gray under the beam of my headlights. Her hair was long and messy, like she'd been out in a storm, even though the night was dry and still. No motion, no waving, just staring straight ahead, like she wasn't even aware I was coming. I slammed on the brakes hard enough to throw half my cargo against the bulkhead and felt my chest crush into the belt. The truck groaned, wheels screeching against the asphalt, and I stopped maybe 10 feet in front of her. Or at least I thought I did. She was gone just like that. No scream, no run, no flinch, nothing. I jumped out with my flashlight, heart pounding like a war drum, expecting to find her collapsed on the pavement or running off into the desert. But there was no one, no sign of anyone, not even footprints in the dust. I swept the beam across the desert scrub, checked the ditches, even looked under the truck. Nothing, just the hum of cicadas and the far-off howl of wind, though the air didn't seem to move at all. It rattled me more than I want to admit. I've seen hallucinations before. Sleep deprivation will do that to you, but this wasn't that. I wasn't tired enough to be seeing things, and I had damn near slammed into her. I double-checked the cab, the mirrors, the road behind. There was no one. I got back in, locked the doors, and pulled off to the shoulder just to breathe for a second. My hands were still trembling on the wheel. I radioed into dispatch, half thinking of reporting a stranded pedestrian, but the thought of sounding like a lunatic stopped me. Besides, how do you report a ghost? Eventually, I put the truck back in gear and rolled back onto the highway. I kept checking the mirrors, half expecting to see her standing behind me or in the ditch somewhere. But the road stretched on, black and silent. The desert swallowed up everything around me. I clicked off the music, couldn't stand the sound of it, and drove in silence, gripping the wheel tighter than I needed to. That's when things got worse. About 10 miles down the road, the cab suddenly felt colder. Not a breeze or a draft, but a drop in pressure, like the whole temperature inside dipped by 10 degrees. I glanced over at the passenger seat and slammed on the brakes again, harder this time, because she was sitting there. The same woman, same tangled hair, same expressionless face. But this time she was looking at me, not blinking, not moving, just pointing. Her arm was slowly lifting, shaking slightly like she hadn't used it in a long time, until she was pointing behind me toward the sleeper cab. That's when I realized I never heard the door open. The cab was locked. The lights hadn't flickered. And yet here she was, barefoot and silent, sitting like she'd been there all along. I didn't move at first. I just stared. My breath was shallow, my brain trying to make sense of something it couldn't. Her skin looked pale, waxy, almost blue under the dashboard glow. There was something wrong with her eyes, not like they were bleeding or missing, just absent, like she was looking through me or didn't even register I was real. I finally broke out of it, threw the door open, and jumped out onto the side of the road. I didn't even care about rattlesnakes or coyotes at that point. I just wanted distance. I pulled out my pocket knife more for the comfort of holding something than any real defense, and circled back to the passenger side window. She was gone again. The cab was empty. No trace of her. I checked the doors. They were still locked. No signs of entry. The dashboard clock blinked midnight, though I knew damn well it was closer to 3:20. The air inside smelled strange, like damp hair and rust. I didn't get back in right away. I sat on the shoulder with the hazard lights blinking and tried to talk myself down. Maybe it was a hallucination. Maybe I had fallen asleep for a split second and dreamed it. But how does that explain the cold? The smell? The way she pointed? After a long while, I climbed back into the cab and drove with the windows cracked, hand on my knife, jumping at every noise the truck made. I kept glancing back at the sleeper, half expecting to see a shadow move or a pale face peeking out from behind the curtain. I made it to a rest stop around 4:30 and parked under the lights, heart still racing. I didn't sleep. I just sat there waiting for something else to happen. But the night passed without incident. Morning came. The heat returned. The weird tension finally left the cab, but I never felt right in that truck again. I never saw her again either, but sometimes when I'm driving late at night, I still feel that drop in temperature, that weight in the cab like someone's sitting beside me, and I can't help but glance over, just to be sure. Dispatch later told me that section of I-8 had a history drivers reporting strange sightings, always around the same mile marker. Rumors of a woman who died there decades ago after being thrown from a car and left to walk barefoot in the desert. They said she tries to flag down drivers, that she doesn't want help. She wants a ride, and if you stop, she never really gets out. Sometimes the road gets so quiet that even the sound of your own thoughts starts to echo. But nothing unsettles a man more than when the silence is broken by someone who never should have been there in the first place, and leaves behind a note that proves they know exactly where you live. I was 6 hours deep into a solo haul through the Colorado Rockies, hauling a load of frozen goods from Denver to Boise. It was one of those dead of winter nights where the whole world seems to hold, its breath-thick fog clinging low over the icy asphalt, headlights swallowed up by snowfall, and the only sound in my cab the steady hum of the tires and the occasional pop of the heating vents. That stretch of Highway 40 past Steamboat Springs is beautiful during the day, all dense pine trees and mountain drops. But at night, with snowflakes slicing through the dark, like static on a broken screen, it turns into something else entirely. Something cold, endless, and lonely. I'd been fighting off a creeping fatigue with caffeine pills and gas station jerky, trying to keep my mind focused, but the isolation was getting to me. When you're alone for that long in a massive steel box, humming through a white void, every shadow starts to feel like it's watching you. Around mile marker 308, I spotted him. At first, I thought it was a deer, maybe a bear or just a tree caught in my lights. But as I got closer, I saw the unmistakable shape of a man tall, thin, wrapped in a dark hoodie, standing on the shoulder just beyond the guardrail. No bag, no sign, no outstretched thumb, just ... there. Still as stone, I slowed down, hesitated. Common sense tells you not to pick up hitchhikers, especially in the dead of night. But something about the way he was standing, so calm, so resigned, cut through my hesitation. Maybe it was the quiet guilt that comes from seeing another human out in that bitter cold while you re-warm and moving. Maybe it was just a need for a voice besides my own. So I hit the brakes, pulled over, and motioned with a thumb toward the cab. He didn't move at first, just stared. Then, without urgency, he climbed over the rail and approached. I rolled down the window and asked if he needed a lift. He nodded once and opened the door without a word. As he stepped in, I felt the cold rush of outside air bite at my neck, sharper than before, like something colder than the snow had climbed in with him. He shut the door gently, settled into the passenger seat, and didn't look at me. just kept his gaze fixed straight ahead, hands resting in his lap, his shoulders barely moving as he breathed. I tried to make small talk, offered him coffee from my thermos, asked where he was headed. Nothing, not even a grunt. I figured maybe he was deaf or didn't speak English, so I gave up after a few attempts and just drove. We rolled along the empty highway in silence, the snow falling heavier now, the road narrowing with every drift. I turned the radio on low classic rock, something to fill the space, but even that felt intrusive. After a while, I turned it off again. It was better that way. The longer he sat there, the more I started to notice little things. His clothes weren't wet from the snow, not even damp. His shoes looked worn, almost too clean for someone walking along a snowy roadside. His hoodie had something stitched on the sleeve, faded letters. Maybe a name, but I couldn't make them out in the dim light. And then there were his hands, pale, too pale, like someone who hadn't seen the sun in a long time. Thin fingers, long nails, the kind you'd expect from someone bedridden or locked away for years. We drove like that for about 40 minutes until I spotted a lit-up rest stop nestled among the trees. One of those all-night joints with vending machines, a bathroom that smells like chemical cleaner, and a single flickering overhead light in the lot. I pulled in, figured I'd grab a hot coffee and maybe something to eat. Offered to get him something too. Still no response. He just sat there, staring. I chalked it up to trauma, maybe drugs or a bad past. People running from something tend to keep their mouths shut. I left the engine running for heat and stepped inside. I was gone maybe 10 minutes, just long enough to grab a sandwich, take a piss, and stretch my legs. The place was deserted. No clerk, no other cars, just the vending machines buzzing faintly under flickering lights. I came back out into the cold, the snow still falling, and instantly felt something was wrong. The passenger door was open, just slightly ajar, like someone had opened it softly and never closed it again. My stomach sank. No footprints in the snow outside, no scuffed seat, no open door alarm, nothing. Just the ghost of cold air clinging to the seat, and something dark and wet smeared across the dash. It took me a second to register what I was looking at, a piece of torn notebook paper, crumpled and stained red. At first I thought it was rust, or maybe spilled sauce from my sandwich, but then I saw how it soaked the fibers unevenly, like it had been pressed to a wound. I unfolded it with shaking hands. My name was written on it first, middle, last, spelled correctly. Below that, my home address. Not just the city or zip, but the house number, street, and even the blue mailbox I installed last year. That level of detail. The handwriting was jagged, written with force, as if each stroke was carved rather than written. At the very bottom, 5 words, "I'll be there soon. Wait." I didn't sleep for the next 48 hours. I drove until the tank screamed for fuel, then kept driving on caffeine and nerves. Every rest stop I passed looked like a trap. Every pair of headlights behind me made my blood run cold. Nothing seemed out of place, but the house didn't feel like mine anymore. Not really. Not since I found that note. It's been 2 weeks since then. No sign of him. But sometimes, usually around 3:08, I may hear footsteps outside. Not on the gravel, but right next to the bedroom wall. Slow, steady, crunching through snow that isn't there anymore. And every morning, no matter how tightly I lock the doors, I find the passenger side of my truck just barely open. Just enough to let something slip inside. He told me to never stop at exit 53, not even if I was bleeding out. Said it once, then never again. I thought it was just a story, something to scare the rookie. But when my brake line blew and I had no choice, I found out why they don't talk about it. It was my 3rd solo run after finishing training with a company out of Amarillo, hauling produce eastbound through rural Tennessee, riding shotgun with silence and the hum of tires. I still had the scratchy company-issued fleece jacket and that twitchy new driver instinct that makes you overcheck your mirrors. My trainer, Rick, had been the kind of old-school trucker, who never joked around sun-leathered skin, eyes like someone who'd seen too many things at 3 a.m. one night. While we passed a long stretch of forested nothing, he pointed at a worn-out green sign half covered in overgrowth. "Exit 53, he muttered, then added, "Never stop there, ever. Doesn't matter what happens. Keep driving." That was it. No story, no warning. Just that grim tone that said it came from something real. I filed it away with all the other weird advice I'd been given. Don't flash your lights at high beams in the hills. Never trust a perfectly clean rest stop. And always check your back seat, even in a semi. The run was supposed to be smooth 9 hours across state lines, drop-off just past Knoxville. But about halfway through, around 1:45 in the morning, I felt the brake pressure dip. At first, I thought it was nothing, maybe just a soft pedal, but then I heard the hiss. That telltale snake rattle sound of a ruptured airline. The kind of thing that makes your gut knot, because you know you're about to lose stopping power on 40,000 pounds of steel and apples. I eased off the pedal, praying for a flat patch or some kind of pull-off, and that's when the sign appeared. Exit 53, 1 mile. It came out of the darkness like a whisper from a bad dream. Bent metal, dull green, barely illuminated by my high beams. The white letters looked almost smeared, like someone had tried to erase them. I thought about Rick's warning. I really did. But I could barely slow down. And the next exit was 11 miles, with no brakes, so I made the turn. The ramp dipped gently into a curved road flanked by thick woods. No street lights, just trees clawing at the sky, and a faint orange glow in the distance. I coasted until I saw a single building at the end of a cracked parking lot. A 24-hour diner with a flickering neon sign that simply read EAC. The windows were fogged over. The lights inside dim, but it was open, or seemed to be. I rolled the truck into the gravel lot and let it settle with a hiss. The engine still ran, but I could smell something off like warm copper and mold. I grabbed my flashlight and stepped down, boots crunching into soft gravel that felt damp. The diner door creaked open with a brittle chime. Inside, it looked like a postcard from the 70s checkerboard floor, red vinyl booths, a counter with cracked stools. A waitress in a faded pink uniform was refilling a coffee pot, her movements slow and strangely smooth, like she was underwater. At first glance, the place looked normal, but something felt wrong. Everyone was quiet, too quiet. A man in overalls sipped coffee without blinking. A woman cradled a menu upside down. A kid stirred an empty bowl of soup. No one looked up when I walked in. No one acknowledged me at all. "Excuse me," I said, stepping closer to the counter. My brake line gave out. "Do you have a phone, or know where I can find a mechanic?" The waitress turned to face me slowly. Her eyes were glassy. Not tired glassy. Her voice was flat when she said, "You shouldn't be here yet." Then she poured coffee into a cup that wasn't there. I stared, trying to process what I'd just heard. "What do you mean?" "I need to call dispatch." A man from one of the booths stood up. He was tall, rail thin, and wore a button-up stained with something that looked like dried syrup or worse. "You need to sit down," he said softly. "You're making people uncomfortable." I took a step back toward the door. That's when I heard the whispering. It started low, like the murmur of a broken radio, but it came from every booth. Every mouth moving just slightly. Words I couldn't quite understand, like they were speaking through wet cloth. One sentence kept rising above the others, again and again. "He doesn't belong yet." I turned and yanked the door open, heart pounding. Outside, the lot was empty. Completely empty. No truck, no tracks, no sign I had ever driven in at all. The fog had thickened, and the sky above was darker than it should have been, like the stars had been scraped away. I ran back inside, ready to demand answers, or just scream at someone, but the booths were empty. The lights flickered with a yellow hue, like sickly candlelight. The air was thick, hard to breathe. The waitress was gone. So was the man in the stained shirt. The counter was lined with plates of food, raw meat, bone, rotting fruit laid out as if waiting for a feast that never came. Then I saw the back hallway, which hadn't been there before, stretching too far into the shadows for a building this size. At the end of it, a red exit sign flickered dimly. I didn't think, I just ran. Down that hall, past doors that pulsed like breathing lungs, past whispers that now knew my name. The exit door was locked at first. I pounded on it, shouted, until I noticed the handle was on the ceiling, not the wall. I grabbed it, yanked it open, and fell. When I hit the ground, I was back in the lot. The truck was there, idling. The sun was rising. The diner behind me was boarded up, shattered windows, condemned tape flapping in the wind, roof half collapsed. A sheriff's cruiser pulled in 10 minutes later after I called for help. The deputy said exit 53 had been closed for years. Said the diner burned down in 1992. Everyone inside gone without a trace. But every so often, he said, someone breaks through the barrier and shows up rambling about whispers and locked doors. He offered to drive behind me to the next station, and as I pulled back onto the highway, I looked into the rear-view mirror. The diner was gone again, just trees and an empty road. The GPS refused to load for the next 50 miles. Rick never answered my texts after that. I think he knew what I'd seen. I don't stop anymore. Not for anything. Especially not for a place that doesn't belong to this world, or at least not to mine. And if you're ever driving through Tennessee and you see a faded green sign for exit 53, don't take it. Even if your brakes are gone, even if you're out of gas, even if someone in your passenger seat starts whispering that you belong there now. Because once you stop, you might not leave until they say you're ready. And they never forget your face.